Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're here with another interview. This is going to be a first look at a new product that I found to be rather interesting. In fact, a viewer, Elias Saba, wrote in to tell me about this, and I checked it out, got in touch with them, and I am joined today by Marc Todd, who is the founder of Skreens. And Marc, why don't you talk about what this product is? Because I look at it and I'm thinking initially HDMI switch box, but it's more than that. So why don't you kind of guide us through what this product does and what you hope to get out on the market very shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Lon. This product, so let's take it from a switcher. A switcher would take, 1, 2, 3, 4 HDMI and allow you to put one HDMI on the output or the second HDMI on the output. So you're only getting one HDMI. This is significantly different. What we've built is a hardware composite engine. So this is the exact same technology that you use at a broadcast studio. So let's say, for instance, it really doesn't matter. Let's say you're a news station, and you see the guy at the desk, and he's got the picture of the fire engine and the fire, and the video's running in the back. And then you have graphics that overlay. Hardware component compositing is significantly different. And the functionality go ahead. Sorry.
I would say it's very similar. So right now I'm interviewing you through a TriCaster, and at the moment you can't see this, but I have a 2-up screen where your video's in one window, I'm in another one, I got a background running also. That's what compositing is, right?
It absolutely is. And there are two big areas of compositing. There is the production and consumption of video. And so for your viewers that are streamers, the production of the video is interesting. So you can obviously composite on your PC, you get a capture card, but anyone who's done video at all, who start to get more into it, the load gets heavier and heavier the more sophisticated you get. So you deal with problems like, latency and lag, herky-jerky type stuff, reduced video quality, compression issues. Let's say you want to put 3 high-definition cameras together. Well, how do you do that? So scalability in terms of creativity. All of those elements are exactly the same thing that happened with CBS, ABC, ESPN. They deal with the exact same problems. And how you get around that, or how you take the next step in the production of video, is that you apply dedicated hardware to it. So you're combining higher quality video, compositing it together, and then sending it to the next step, which may be compression and pushing or final detail touches of higher level compression or compositing up to the cloud. So that's on the production side.
And what you're doing is not production. Yeah. This is for home entertainment use, right?
Well, I mean, I see it as, to be honest, this is really for. We have both the gaming crowd on the consumption side. I want to watch a game and watch the football game. I want to play PlayStation. I want to watch, Lon on my streaming station, and I want to watch the football game. There's a consumption side, but there's also this industry of streaming, twitching, YouTube, whatever have you. This is a massive industry, and it's not going away. That industry, what you guys do, needs more technology, and this is really neat because it satisfies both.
Okay, so not only can I just put this on my television, I guess I could then send out the output that I have out to a stream also. So if I was doing a game stream but wanted to show a chat window or something on screen at the same time, this would do that?
Yeah.
That's very cool. Now you can show us this, right?
I can. Let me start. Let me start with. Let's see. Let me make sure that you can see. I'm going to put my camera this way. And what I have behind me is a 4K display, and the let's make sure everything is running. Bear with me for 1 second. my iPad selects a different network when I'm in my house.
Gotcha.
In the lab space here, I end up with several different wireless networks, several video.
Yeah, no, I know how that goes.
So this is hard to see potentially for your viewers, but you could see the video
Right.
on the Kickstarter that we have, and you'll get all those details. But this gives you an idea how you can add an HDMI window, and I can move it around,
Right.
and I can scale it. And the scaling, that happens to be a PlayStation 4.
Okay.
And I put another live video cam in. This is a GoPro.
Okay. This is live video right you got right there, yeah?
Yeah. And notice I don't have to state of the aspect ratio.
Right.
This is important. You can always make it the same aspect ratio. There are functions along the lines of, and let's see, hopefully you can see this. If I put video on top of each other, I can blend and transparency. So you see I can make the video transparent over one another.
Right. Oh, neat. That's
all right.
Cool. Mm-hmm.
Now that's a hardware transparency. The other thing you can do, and you had mentioned, and just for giggles, let's just make a Twitter window. And again, I'm doing these kind of quick.
Right.
So, here's your Twitter window. There's your video. All three.
At the same time.
Yeah. At the same time.
All scaling, all compositing at the same time.
All compositing. And again, the key is that that's a GoPro camera, so you're talking 1080p 60.
Right.
You're talking 1080p 60 from the PlayStation, and then you're talking independently. There's no performance issue. The Twitter window is running on a separate processor, so this is a parallel operation. I'll talk about that in a second because that is a massive difference to what people I think are using today.
So the box itself is actually pulling the Twitter feed. This is not coming in from a computer or something like that?
Right. Architecturally, I've actually created a custom chip out of FPGA.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you're...
Yeah, it's a big deal because the FPGA is precisely what they're using. I mean, it's been used for 15 years and or more. And this is what broadcast studios are using. High-end network routers, so 100 gig, 10 gig, 100 gig routers. And this is the business I was in the past. We used FPGAs to get hardware speeds, and it was very flexible.
So just so our viewers can understand, an FPGA is a programmable chip. Is that right?
Yeah, they're programmable.
And
Precisely.
so it can be made into anything you want it to be without having to change out hardware. Is that kind of the approach you're taking with that?
Yeah, this is a radical idea for consumer. Okay, to my knowledge, no one has put out an FPGA of this size or caliber to the consumer in the past. Let me show you, and again, maybe you can see this. That little guy right there, there's well over 1 million transistors in that.
Wow.
And those transistors act like essentially electrical engineering Lego blocks.
Okay.
So I can create parallel operation. So the parallel operation in this case is we're taking 4.5 billion bits per second on each HDMI input, and then we're putting out 4.5 billion bits per second, and we're doing it in a frame time. That's why high-end gaming systems work with this. There was no other way to do it but to build a hardware solution.
Right, because if there's even one frame of delay, someone's going to notice that on the gaming side. So what you're saying here with this product, and you have, what, a 4-input device there, no lag whatsoever. If I'm playing the PlayStation while running the football game and having the Twitch stream going, that's going to be fine. There's not going to be any kind of delay there at all. And
so, well, I want to be accurate. And again, as an engineer, I want to be
Sure.
total full disclosure accurate. There's no lag, but there will be up to, I think it's a 16 millisecond delay, which is the 1 frame time.
Okay.
And we test this. Matter of fact, we've been to 3 PAXs, and top gamers have been playing, and they're able to go to town.
And what do gamers like about this product? Because obviously there's I think, at least for me, if I'm doing a game or something, I may not want to be distracted by all this stuff on screen. Are they seeing the value of this as something they can multitask with or something they can stream with? What do you see the target for this product when you roll it out?
Yeah. So okay. So on the gamer side, we hear some things over and over. Number one, gamers today are already multitasking. You're already putting multiple screens in front of yourself, and then you're seeing the game that you're doing. So right away, the value add is that you're able to put everything on one screen, so that it's a very easy field of vision for you. So you're going to keep an eye on your Twitch feed or your chat or what have you. That's one thing. Second thing is that you can create parallel computing extremely quickly and easily. So I could have my gaming PC, and then I can have my whatever else, my side PC, whatever I'm doing on the side, and it's not impacting them both because they're able to be on the same screen. Other gamers, like there's an amazing number of couples where they want to play two games, like one plays PlayStation, one plays Xbox, so they both play their own PlayStation, and they want to play it on the same screen in the house. And typically they tell me, look, my wife gets the big screen, and I get this old 19-inch monitor
Right.
that kind of works, right? And we've all been there. Yeah. And so they're like, wow, I can put this on the same screen, and that's very cool. Other ones are, there are a lot of actual sports fans, so an incredible number of hockey fans. That's close to my heart, and they say, I can play NHL 15, but keep the hockey game on, and
right.
That's fantastic.
So it's almost realizing the vision of picture-in-picture that we had 20 years ago that never really materialized, right? Because it didn't work right. You couldn't put things where you wanted it to. This accomplishes that, but does more.
Exactly, and it's funny because our generation sees it as picture-in-picture because we bought those things hoping we could do the things we wanted, but then we realized that it wasn't a compositing engine at all. It was simply an input buffer that put the thing out. And to the younger generation, they see the world in terms of compositing. They don't see a TV, they see a display, and they want the video, and they want the quality, and they want simultaneous computing engines to be combined together. And this is why I think this is going to be a hugely disruptive technology. I think it's going to help the streaming community. And because it's upgradable, I want people to come and talk to me about, hey, Mark, I need a feature, I need green screening. I got that feature at PAX, and I said, you know what? Yep, you got it. We put chroma key in the product launch, and others. And I think that this will make a really fun platform.
And are you able to stream from this device, or would you still need your streaming box in addition to what you're outputting?
Yeah. So today, I say you keep your streaming box the way it is, and I made a conscious decision there. It's not that we can't do H.264 compression and then shoot it up to a Twitch or a YouTube. Certainly on upgradable on the upgrade path. And again, flexible technology. I can update that. But I really chose to stay adding features, not replacing what you already own.
Right, and I think the serious streamers are going to have their own streaming boxes anyhow. So adding this compositing layer, because I think about just for what I do here on the YouTube channel, I'm going to be continually looking to my right here to my computer screen because the chat window is somewhere else. Being able to overlay that, especially on if you're doing a YouTube live stream or a Twitch stream on a console game, I think would be pretty valuable to some of these folks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that when you look at OBS and XSplit and the continued sophistication there of the software, you don't want to go and relearn something. What we want to do is we want to augment that and put the Skreens devices in a compositing section before the streamer, and then allow OBS to send scene changes to the Skreens box, and it'll change what I call layouts. It'll change the screen. So I go from, hey, let me move to the two cameras in my kitchen and show you the cooking show while I'm eating dinner. And then I come back to my desk and boom, I do the two cameras plus, the video game. And oh, by the way, my best friend's streaming, letting me throw him on the screen. And those things can move very fast, easy, and make better productions.
So talk about the product options that we're going to have available. So you're going to be going out to crowdfunding on this, hopefully getting some interest. I think this is something that I know I get a lot of questions about from people. How do I do what I do here on the channel with multi-windows and scaling? And for me, it's a $6,000 TriCaster, which costs a lot of money. This seems to do a lot of what I'm doing here with my TriCaster for what it looks like a lot less. So talk about the product levels, what's going to be available, and the initial pricing.
Right. We're going to come out on the Kickstarter, and we're going to show two products. We're going to show essentially the 2-port unit, so that's 2 HDMI in, compositing 1 HDMI out, and it's got built-in Skreens operating system. So in addition to the FPGA, we have dual 1 gigahertz ARM processor cores in the product as well. It's actually in the same chip. And we'll allow you to run Chrome on that. So that's the 2-port device. And then we have a 4-port device, which is actually built from a brother chip. It's actually significantly more transistors, and it'll allow you 4 simultaneous inputs. It still has the built-in operating system. It's got both products have USB for approved peripherals, and these are things that we want to give the users, like, for example, RJ45, if you don't want the Wi-Fi or Bluetooth that is inside the box, and a few other things. The entry price for the 2-port unit will be under $200, and the entry price for the 4-port unit will be under $399.
That's a very good price considering what you're getting there. Because I've seen products from, and I've used every video switcher you can find for under $1,000. So I started with the Blackmagic ATEMs and went up to a couple levels on their product line and then switched to the TriCaster. So $400 for essentially 4 video inputs, right? Plus some other compositing you can do on top of that. That's a pretty good. This might actually be attractive to video producers too.
Well, you hit it right on the head. So my industry, where I came from, the last 15 years I've spent selling to service providers and to content providers, people that look like ESPN, people that look like Disney, Verizon, AT&T. And what I've done is taken the exact same functionality in terms of load and compositing that costs you upwards of $10,000 for 4 ports, and I've cost reduced this so I can bring it to this industry, our industry, gaming and streaming. I can bring this to at a consumer level and really jack up the creativity. Another thing that you should be aware of, and it's a fantastic piece of technology, is that the boxes cascade. So if you want 7 ports, you get 2 4-ports, and you just take the output and put it into the input. You want 10, add another one. So it makes a nice scalable solution, both in number of ports and load. Plus you have the scalability of both the Skreens operating system and the FPGA, which I'm going to be able to swap images as we go along, which means things are going to get better. Things are going to be able to be a little more future-proof. This is called reconfigurable, upgradable technology, something that I used in my previous company, and we still use today in that company, updating stuff and keeping up with new standards. And yeah, so those are the products. I think there's going to be a whole bunch of features in a pro version of the 2 products. So there'll be the 2 and 4-port base, and then there will be the pro versions of those. And in the pro versions, you'll have more features, and those will be showcased on the Kickstarter.
And it seems like, this is not an easy thing to start with. So you clearly have a background in this. What are some of the challenges? This product obviously has to get manufactured, but you've essentially built it. You just showed us how it works, and I'll interleave some of the video that you've already produced on how it operates. How long did this take to design, and what are some of the challenges in essentially trying to bring a product like this to market? This probably was not an inexpensive venture for you to begin. So you're probably burning some cash here to get up and running. What are some of the challenges you're facing?
Right. Yeah. This is my last T-shirt.
The shirt off your back, right?
Yeah. No. Seriously. So as you could probably tell, my background and degrees are in electrical and computer engineering, and this is my 3rd startup. that I've been with. And the other two previous ones, I was the director of engineering and then the CEO of a company for 11 years. And we had always been business to business and significant technology. I was in embedded systems, so I'm not really in the Microsoft operating system. I'm in the picosecond operating
Right. Build
system,
your own
right?
operating system, maybe, right?
Yeah, you get a little, although you like XML, you just get very frustrated that it's an ASCII, right?
Right.
As an embedded engineer. And so what I did was I saw the market opportunity. And I didn't fully understand it until I actually started to engage with the gamers and streamers at PAX. That was about a year ago. And I realized that what I wanted to build to help me put like 5 football games on the TV with my fantasy stats was the same technology that would really help this industry be disruptive. And it's taken me, let's see, over 3.5 years. I've built prototypes. I have to get my supply chain in order. I've got the relationship with the semiconductor manufacturers. This is actually a radical concept, and that even the HDMI chips themselves don't work the way I need them to work for what this is. So there's customization that needs to happen even in the interface chips. But what's very important, and I see people do chat for me, that they'll do comments on the field, and they're typically very good comments. It's they're concerned that this is some piece of hardware that comes over from China and somebody just puts software on it.
Right.
And they're making a Kickstarter, right? That's not this. This is both hardware and software. I'm going to have some video on my site showing you actually our manufacturing, which is right up in Chelmsford, Mass.
This is American made then? This is being made right here in New England?
Yeah, my garage and then right up in Chelmsford. So yeah, there's some good tech talk that we're editing the video, and it will be on the Kickstarter site. You asked about technology. I want to show something here because I think this is going to be massive. Take where we are now and think about how we're going into the future. These little HDMI devices. So Intel has this PC stick, right?
Yep.
Chrome has Chromium, Chromecast.
I love those things. I've reviewed a lot of those. Yeah. Yep.
It's ridiculous, right? So
right.
$89, you get a Linux platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
So an important thing is that you don't want to reinvent the wheel when you're making companies. What you want to do is you want to look at your end customer, and you want to say, and again, our end customers, gamers and streamers, and say, how do I make their experience more immersive? How do I make them better? How can I help you make a better broadcast to reach more people? And I think that taking all the technology that's coming out, these sticks, the programmability, the 4K TV displays, and making something like this that allows you to take those things, stick them in, all of a sudden, you've got a radically different solution there. You can do all kinds of things. I can plug 4 of these things in, and I have 4 independent computing stations with blending and transparency. I can make them rotate, cycle, do what I want. And then Skreens also provides for the guys that code a developer API that allows you to do what I'm doing in the controller. And again, it's not like it's not like I'm off in some other part of the world. We're looking for people to give us feedback and those early adopters to say, wow, you know what, if you did this, my show would be 10 times better. That's what I'm looking for. And that's why we've made it upgradable.
And what's interesting about hardware these days, because we're seeing this now across the board, whether it's a phone or what you're building or anything else, that hardware by expectation now is everyone thinks it should just kind of be this blank slate that you can change with software. But from an engineering standpoint, you got started before this was like this. You got started when you built the hardware for a specific purpose, and it didn't change from that. How hard is it to design a product that you can change at will like this? Because that's essentially what you're suggesting here, right?
Yeah, this is, and again, I'm as an engineer, I lack the vocabulary to properly give this technology its due. I'm going to be actually talking at TwitchCon coming up on Saturday We have a booth at TwitchCon in San Francisco, and I'm going to be giving a talk on this, and I'm going to try to articulate some of this stuff a little further. But everyone's aware of processors, right? We all know, you know, an x86 processor, an i7, an i5, right? Processors are good for multitasking. They're very good for, and they're called a load store instruction set. They take an instruction, they do something to it, they push the result back. DSPs are very good at crunching math. What these things do is big arrays of math. So you're doing things like Fourier transforms, things that like compression and decompression of video, those type of math algorithms, DSP, digital signal processing. Neither one of those are particularly good at bulk video. In fact, they're not good at all at bulk video. They're good at compressing a video from one step to the other. But the reason we even know the word lag, it comes from the fact that I put video into a PC and the thing goes, right? Right. That's why they have GPUs and offload engines. It's specific silicon to try to move it off of the processor. And no matter how many processors you have, 8 cores, it won't matter that the limitations are physically in the bus or it's in the connection between the DDR. And it's just simply not architected for what video is. So when you go to professional broadcast studios, they're spending $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 on hardware blending stations. And this is what FPGAs have been selling to for 15 years. So I'm buying chips even as soon as a few years ago. I'm buying chips for $800 a chip, $1,200 a chip.
And that's just because the margin was there to do it. People were willing to pay for that, so that was the price.
Well, certainly in the business community it is. Mm-hmm. You go to ABC Studios and you put a blending station, they expect to spend $10,000, $15,000, $30,000. That's before they put the software on top, right?
Right, exactly.
So there was this huge gap between the consumer and what FPGAs were. And because everybody had spare processing bandwidth both in phones, PCs, and in the cloud, everybody says, you know what? Let me just make my apps. I'll make Angry Birds. I'll do I'll do social applications that'll run on processors. So there's a lot of bandwidth for networking and processing that you can do lots of innovation there. I looked at it as that in general, the problem of television and displays, we've reached a breaking point, a tipping point. This displays are so big. I mean, this display in my house that's 60 inches.
Yeah, I got a 60-inch next door. I paid $1,700 for it. I mean, think about, I was watching last night with my daughter. We were watching some 4K video on YouTube through the television, right through the Ethernet jack in the TV. And I'm just like, this is amazing that, we're under $2,000 with a screen this large, with this much resolution that you can do all this stuff with. And we're watching one big thing on there. We've got a lot of room to play with, right?
Yeah, well, I do the same thing. I watch Seinfeld, and Seinfeld's head's 3 feet big.
Right.
I'm like, this is crazy. I'm sitting 7 feet away.
Right.
I want to use those pixels more intelligently, number one. Number two, this doesn't even fit my behavioral culture. My kids want to play Xbox while I'm watching the news. And again, maybe a lot of people say, well, that's distracting, but I'm finding that more people have separate displays, and I'm like, this is crazy. We need to make the connection between what people really do and make the technology work correctly. And when I evaluated that, quite frankly, you can't just do it in software. It required special hardware. And we happen to hit the curve with, this chip and the whole family of chips, we hit this curve where the yield rate and the number of transistors hit this knee that now makes it possible. And so it's incredibly high technology. And quite frankly, the reason I'm running a Kickstarter isn't to go off and build this vision. I'm not showing you PowerPoint slides. What I did was I spent over 3.5 years building this thing, several different versions, several different prototypes. And the reason I need a Kickstarter is I need to do two things. I need volume so I can get my manufacturer. I can keep that production line, which you'll see that video. I got to keep that on for more than 10 minutes. It's got to go for a long time so the cost comes down so I can bring these prices out. And then the second thing I need is I need streamers and gamers to say, hey, we're relevant. We want displays to work like this. I don't want a TV to work like a TV. I want a TV to be a TV plus the way I want a display. And if you can do that market validation, if people say, you know what, Skreens is on the right path, let me support them, we can take it to the promised land. We can make this happen and bring this product out.
We've got in my chat room here at least 4 customers already who are ready to buy. So where did
Oh, good.
where now when this hasn't started yet, this Kickstarter. Maybe by the time people see this, it will have. So when is the start date for the Kickstarter, and how do people get in on this?
Yeah, good question. The Kickstarter is going to start. We will be live on, I believe, Tuesday at 5 o'clock.
Oh, so this is it. Like this week is happening.
Yep. That's why my hair looks the way it does. It's happening right now. It's going to happen at Tuesday at 5. Wednesday at 10 in the morning is when the official launch is. So we're right on that cusp. We'll send you information on links and other stuff like that that are going on. And like I said, I'll be at TwitchCon. Our crew will be there, and so you'll be able, if you want to come to TwitchCon, see live demonstrations. Kick the tires, ask me questions, ask the crew. We have a fantastic team of engineers and people. I mean, really top drawer.
I think it's going to be very popular. You know, what's interesting is looking at this, if I can give you some of my feedback, just because I've been, obviously researching over the last couple of days before ahead of this interview. I see this having like different verticals. The same product, maybe different interfaces. So for example, like I got my TriCaster here, which I paid handsomely for. But I use a physical control panel here and this is X keys. I'm sure you've seen these before. To control the video, because I'm generally not scaling in real time. I'm usually setting up my screens and just locking them in and kind of switching cameras as I'm recording. So that might be good for me. A gamer might have a totally different workflow and how they want to present their screens, and maybe somebody who's buying this for home entertainment purposes has. Are you thinking about interfaces and how that might work? I saw you have. We saw the iPad demo there briefly. But are you thinking about this, or are you just going to let the customers kind of get back to you as this is developing to figure out the best path to take?
Oh, you're right on it. I actually, and again, I'm somewhat of an idea guy. Mm-hmm. So coming up with, hey, how can I take this flexible technology that drives 4K and high-def TVs, that takes any HDMI device on the planet and blends them together with internet and web content. You can imagine that the verticals, excuse me, are going to be enormous. So we are going to certainly go through verticals as we go forward. But I opened up the API because I believe that there's a lot of people that can build their own value proposition and revenue potential on top of what Skreens is going to do. So much like other computing platforms, you're going to have applications and higher level things. Let me give you a good example. We have requests from elderly community, believe it or not, and this isn't our core market with you guys, but you can imagine that your grandparents or your mom or dad or whatnot, and they're a lot of these guys they watch TV all day long, and they have problems as simple as, they got an oxygen tank, but the battery to the oxygen tank starts to go low, but they're watching TV and they just don't notice it.
Right.
Then it fails.
Yeah.
Now, next thing you're talking, an ambulance comes, right? They're asking for very simple things. Hey, can you, take Price is Right, and if the oxygen tank's at 50%, shrink the video and say, plug in the tank.
Right.
And if it's 75, shrink it more. And, simple feedback mechanisms to help people. And oh, by the way, no, there is a problem. Let me put up a Skype window right next to the thing that my son or daughter can check in on me. And, so it's more than just for the young. You stretch this across, it's dorms, it's, government applications, security applications, casinos, bars and restaurants. It just goes down the line. You end up realizing that everywhere you have a human being, they want to blend some content from this guy, some content from that guy, and some content from this other guy, and they want to see it simply. they want it clean, and then they want it on one screen. So, and they want to control it with, one of these.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that this is why I think we've spent a lot of time trying to think out what's the future of displays really going to look like. How do we make this fair playing field for everybody? So I can watch the Super Bowl,
right,
and I can watch PewDiePie at the same time, and PewDiePie is commenting on the Super Bowl. Gee, wouldn't that be fantastic?
That'd be kind of neat,
right?
right? And that gets around the copyright issues too, because I can't run the Super Bowl through my channel. I can talk about it, although I think they'll, how they get with that stuff. But right, I mean, that you could be able to get around some of those things where YouTuber could say, all right, hey, if you've got a multi-screen here, why don't you turn on the Super Bowl? I'm going to give you a live, a live review of it as I'm going. So that's pretty cool. Now, before we end, I'm just really curious about this FPGA technology, because I interviewed someone who just launched another Kickstarter this week, something totally different.
Yep.
He's got a game console. It's called the Retro VGS. I don't know if you heard of this guy, but his name is Mike Kennedy, and what they've done is built their game console with an FPGA also. Because it is running with older retro video game systems. So they can program the processor. It's not even emulation. It's programming the processor to behave like a 6502, which is what the Nintendo ran. Then they can reprogram it to run as a 68,000 Motorola chip for the Sega Genesis or something. Is something happening with the FPGAs now that we're starting to see? Because you mentioned this, that the yields have gotten to a point where now they're more affordable. Because we haven't seen these in consumer products before, and now we're starting to. Is there something that's happened out there?
Yeah, if think about this, the line for FPGAs, the reason you haven't seen FPGAs is that typically you would, circuit designers would figure out the circuit in FPGAs, and then they would make what we call an ASIC, a hardened chip. So, the FPGA would cost you $1,000. You take the design and you shrink it and you make an ASIC. Over the years, FPGA fab, the fab itself, has gotten much better. So basically the width of the transistors have gotten down significantly, which has increased the number of transistors, and it also has increased the yield rates, which decreases the pricing. So you end up with the ability to get a lot of transistors. So there is FPGAs in things like TVs and cameras today. They tend to be small and they do very specific functions. FPGAs are not good at being a processor. They're not good at other things, but they are. You can see 100 times the performance, for example, in processing things that are very bulk load. Like network traffic and video, because it's just a huge amount of stuff, and you can run things in parallel. And you can do that, and you can also change clocks.
You can change the speed of the chip in, really?
Totally
wow.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So what you do is you simply increase the clock rate or decrease the clock rate, or, the chip designers and the FPGA guys are, I have guys on our staff that are just, phenomenal.
This has got to be a really exciting time as an engineer to have this flexibility. I'm looking at it. I'm 38. I was doing a cable show when I was 13. I had to go somewhere and have all this expensive equipment I couldn't afford. Now I've got it all in my house here now. So it's been exciting for me as a video producer to see that change. It's got to be amazing as an engineer to have something that you can just build and then it can be whatever you want later, right? It's almost like a replicator on Star Trek or something, right?
Well, yeah. If it is certainly exciting. It is complex. The downside is that it's not the same as picking up Java. Mm-hmm. It is complex, and we have this thing. Not only you have to make timing, but in order to organize 1 million transistors, and it's basically building blocks of cores, and then there are simulation steps. And if you have one mistake, one flip-flop wrong,
right, the whole thing blows up.
It don't come out, right?
Right.
And so
it's like the punch card days all over again, right?
Yeah, the level of detail and the level of understanding of this is massive. But you are correct. It's my belief that commodity is great, right? Commodity is fantastic, process is fantastic, we can take advantage of commodity. But there are points in technical history where we have to reevaluate and say we've gotten to the end of the commodity, and we need to add a next level of technology that will take us into the next step, and then that will beget something else. And I just, working with these things for so many years and seeing the power of being able to update something in the field. I mean, it's not perfect. I mean, you're not going to do everything. You're not going to be able to boil the ocean, but you be able to say, oh, you know what? Here's one for you. People who are interested in the 4-port box, say they get the 4-port box later on, after you get it, you're going to say, hey, Mark, we need an audio mixer. And the answer is going to be no problemo. It's coming in the next build. You're not going to put an audio mixer back into a processor, right?
Right.
These are the type of really, really cool things that you can do inside an FPGA. And so, yeah, I think that applying this technology to other things, I think medical and transportation and others, I think that it's really fun. So any electrical engineers out there, I would say make sure you code, make sure you're aware of FPGAs, and get one of these things and kick the tires, take the API for a spin, and you'll get an appreciation for them. So.
I'll tell you what, it looks really exciting. I think a lot of folks in the chat room are really eager to check this thing out when it gets there. And I think from the standpoint of just understanding from where I've been doing this channel the hard way and trying to figure out how to make everything work the way I want it to, and it's often been just shelling out more money. So what you've got is essentially for $400 what a $6,000 TriCaster can do, and some not everything, but a lot of what the TriCaster is good for, which is that multi-layering, you're doing for $400 with the same number of ports, which I think is pretty remarkable. So we're looking forward to seeing this when it gets out there. So Tuesday is the Kickstarter launch. Where can people find more info on the product? You have a website set up that people can go to and then link over to the Kickstarter?
I do. Actually, the website is www.skreens.com.
With a K.
Skreens with a K. And if you put your email in, there's more information on what's there. Put your email in. You will get an email just before the Kickstarter goes live. So there are really cool early bird specials. So if you put your email in, we'll shoot that out the moment before we go live, so you can be one of the first in. And I'd like to say to yourself and your audience, I really appreciate this. I'm better behind the camera than in front of it.
Hey, you did fine. It was good to hear. I actually prefer having the founders on because there's a passion that comes with building the product, and there's a lot of what I found too is that often the founders are just, I don't want to say more transparent, but there's more, you can sense more of why they created this thing versus some stale PR talk, which is why I always like to get the founders on. So that's what's been cool about it. But go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, I just wanted to say thank you to you and your audience. I mean, I could tell you that I've come out of a business-to-business space, and I have found that gamers and streamers are just fantastic, and you guys have given us opportunity, and I'd like to work more for you. I'd like to get this thing really out, so I just want to say thanks a lot, and please tell a friend, and hopefully we can get this thing going.
Excellent. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, my experience has been too that because I work in the B2B world in my day job. Business to business people know exactly what they want. They have set specifications in mind, very discerning about what they're purchasing, and gamers are very much the same. They really know what they want, and when they can find somebody that can make the product into what they're looking for, the way you're describing, I think you're off to a great start there. So best of luck with that. I'm going to chip in and reserve one for myself too, and I hope other folks watching will do so, because I think this is going to have a lot of good potential for a lot of other folks. If you're watching live, we're going to be replaying this recording later on in the week, so if you missed something, don't worry, it'll be back up. I'll probably get it up around the same time the Kickstarter goes live, so you can learn more about the product before you click the button, and that will do it. Marc, again, I want to thank you for joining us today, and look at Skreens.com with a K, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you a little bit later once things get rolling here, so good luck.
Thanks, Lon. Thank you.